Good evening, and welcome to the DC Fair Elections Program at-large primary debate. I'm Michael Bryce Sadler, a reporter for CityCast DC, and I'll be your moderator tonight. We have 9 candidates on stage vying for a critical at-large seat. Because of the size of this field, I'm going to be strict with the time to ensure every candidate is heard and we cover as many issues as possible. Each candidate will have 1 minute for opening and closing statements. Responses will be 45 seconds. Rebuttals, when allowed, will be 30 seconds. I'll ask the candidates to introduce themselves. If you can include your name, title, and a brief opening statement. We'll go in alphabetical order, starting with Mr. Chavous.
All right, thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. This year, DC residents will make their decision in the most consequential election since 1974. And while change is good, we're going to have a new delegate, a new mayor, and potentially 6 new council members. Prepared leadership is better. My name is Kevin Chavous. I'm an attorney, husband, father, who's day one ready to serve you as your at-large council member here in DC. Most recently, I served as a committee director at DC Council, so I understand performance oversight, I understand budget analysis, but most importantly, I understand how to turn ideas into law. So I'm asking for your vote. I'm humbly asking for your #1 ranking. I'm Kevin Chavous, and I'm number 8 on the ballot. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Davis.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Dwight Davis. I'm a career educator. I spent 22 years building my career. The one fundamental thing I need everyone to understand and acknowledge is that our children are our foundation. They are our greatest economic engine. And if we want a future-ready, a future-strong DC, we must invest in them, the next generation. I spent so many years in education. I've learned how to manage classrooms, how to manage schools. That is important because I've had to write policy, I've had to do oversight, and I've had to manage a big budget. Those are the responsibilities of a council member: legislation, oversight, and budgeting. We want a future-ready, a strong DC. Please vote for me. I'm #1 on the ballot. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Forester.
Good evening. I'm Dyana Forester, Ward 7 proud DC native. I've also spent 20 years fighting to make sure DC is more affordable and equitable. As a DC public school parent and a graduate, I've organized across the district to ensure that every child has access to a quality education. I've also been an ANC commissioner that prioritized responsible economic development and pushed developers to increase their housing affordability. I've been a labor leader that has fought to increase the minimum wage, to $50 an hour, and secure paid family medical leave. We also ensured that we banned the box and that DC was a sanctuary city. But being on the outside, I decided I need to step in, work for government to understand not only how to legislate, but how to govern. So the past 3 years, I've been serving in administration to gain perspective. And now I'm running to serve as your at-large council member. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Hill.
Good evening. My name is Fred Hill, and I'm running for DC Council at Large. I've lived here in this area for over 50 years, and I've had an opportunity to see it change. I've also been an employer and a business owner here in the city, or in the area, for 25 years. I've had an opportunity to employ over 100 people in my career and provide tax dollars for the economy. I also have had the chance to actually already serve at a citywide level as the chair of the Board of Zoning Adjustment, dealing with zoning issues all over all 8 wards and all different ANCs. Right now, DC is at a crossroads. The housing crisis is pushing and longtime residents away. The DC economy has over-relied on the federal government, and now that vulnerability is impossible to ignore. Congress keeps threatening our right to govern ourselves, so I'm running because experienced leadership matters. My leadership was forged in both boardrooms and public hearings, and is exactly what this moment demands. So I ask for your vote. I'm #4 on the ballot. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Jackson.
All right. I'm Greg Jackson, running for DC Council at Large, and I'm running because we're in a time where we need less talk and more action. DC has the highest unemployment rate of any major city in the country, and we need a council that's going to take action to create jobs. We are in the midst of a housing crisis, and we need a council that's going to fight for more affordable housing options and the options to own. Right now, gun violence is also the #1 cause of death for our youth, and we need more action to keep our youth safe. But last but not least, we need to make sure that we are providing more action to help our students thrive in this district. Only 33% of our 8th graders can read proficiently, and we are in a moment where council continues to cut resources for education and recreation. I have served in the mayor's office, fought for bills in Congress, actually passing an historic bipartisan law in Congress, but also served in the White House as President Biden's advisor on all things gun violence prevention, managing a $17 billion budget, and reducing homicides nationwide by 49%. And so I'm here to fight for you as your next council member. Let's talk and more action.
Thank you. Ms. Jenkins.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Leniqua'dominique Jenkins. Yes, Leniqua'dominique is one first name. I say that because I believe in showing up honestly and authentically, and that starts with having people say your name and or your pronouns. I've served in several capacities. I've been an ANC commissioner. I've been a business owner for over a decade in the District of Columbia. I've worked for former and current council members. I even have a school and an orphanage in East Africa. I've inspired and written legislation in DC, but also in India, Africa, and Spain. My platform is pointed towards the 3 E's: equity, education, and environmental justice. I'm running because I've done the work, I understand the systems, and I'm ready to create change and positive impact for people in the District of Columbia. Thank you, and I look forward to tonight's conversation.
Thank you, Ms. Jenkins. Ms. Nelson.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Candace Nelson, and I'm running because I believe leadership makes people feel seen, heard, and valued. And too many of us in D.C. do not feel that way right now. I know I don't, and I didn't growing up. I grew up in Winchester, Virginia, which can explain the twang from time to time, but it also explains the advocate that stands before you today. For 2 decades, I've been fighting for D.C. residents. As an ANC commissioner, as president of the Ward 4 Democrats, I've worked in all 3 branches of the local government, 5 different government agencies, served as the transition director for Attorney General Brian Schwab, and as chief of staff to the Ward 4 Councilmember Janice Lewis-George. And in all that, I've learned that D.C. can thrive if we focus on foundations. And foundations are education, healthcare, and housing, and ensuring that they are affordable, accessible, and of quality, and quality is key. I am prepared, I am principled, and I am ready to see a district that works for all of us. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Owolewa.
Hi, my name is Dr. Oye Owolewa. I'm a pharmacist, former ANC commissioner, current U.S. representative fighting for D.C. statehood. But that's what I do. That's not who I am. I'm a child of African immigrant parents that came to this country because they were told if they worked hard, they could live with dignity. If their kids worked hard, their kids can live with dignity. And they raised me to work hard and also give back. So when I became a pharmacist, one of the things I started to do was volunteer in classrooms, getting young people pipelined into science careers. And when my patients had to choose between drug costs and keeping their lights on, I decided to step up in the community. I became an ANC commissioner, and then I became the shadow rep. But right now, DC is under attack. Thousands of district residents lost their jobs. More are losing their health insurance, and young people are pipelined to prison. I'm running for DC Council at Large to fight for the district that you deserve. One that prioritizes preventative care versus large costs on the back end. One that rehires thousands of district residents. And ones that put young people in college and make UDC tuition free. Vote Oye for a better future.
Thank you. And last but not least, Ms. Raymond.
Thank you. I'm Lisa Raymond, and I'm running for the at-large council seat because after working for 30 years in DC government and nonprofits, I want to use those skills to make our government work better for everyone. I'm a proven problem solver, I listen, and I'm not afraid to make difficult decisions. I have been showing up for DC residents for my entire adult life. I've served in the highest levels of DC government as the Ward 6 member and president of the State Board of Education, as senior education advisor to Council Chairman Kwame Brown, and as Chief of Staff to D.C. Attorney General Paul Racine. In my current role at Covenant House, I work hard every day to make sure that our D.C. youth have access to the housing and the dignity that they deserve. I hope to have your support. I will use the values that I've learned and all of my experiences and bring those to the job on the very first day. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks to all our candidates for those introductions. I'm going to jump into our first question, which is focused on the budget and downtown recovery. The district is facing severe budget constraints, a stagnant commercial real estate market, and a downtown that has not yet fully recovered. Without relying on vague promises of efficiency, what is one specific program or subsidy you would cut to help balance the budget? And we'll start with Mr. Chavous.
Well, that's a good question, and it's a very important question. Fiscal responsibility is not an ideological value. It's just good governance. And I think one thing we need to do, and this is very important when we talk about performance oversight, is dig into the programs in various agencies where we have duplicative services. We have a $22 billion budget in DC. It's gone up 2,000% since home rule, but we still have the same number of council members and roughly the same number of staff. The council budget has not grown at the same rate as the city's budget. So what does that mean? It means oversight is tougher. It means staff works longer hours. If I'm the council member, I will commit to do the assignment that I'm given to do. In all these committees that we had, I was the chair of director of the Committee on Executive Administration and Labor, and we had all types of agencies from all over the government. I'll put those skills to use to conduct effective oversight. Thank you.
Did you name one specific program or subsidy?
I don't think so.
Could you name one that you would cut?
I think one would be with some of in DACL, the Department of Aging and Community Living, we have Safe at Home 2.0, and the way that it works, when you get a repair or request for guardrails or home enhancements, you have to use a certain contractor. And I believe that we could get a better rate if we open it up to other contractors, people in the community that could do some of the work. So I think that's one example of a program that could be changed.
Appreciate you. Mr. Davis.
Yes. Leadership means that you inspect what you expect. And what I mean by that is I agree with my colleague, Mr. Chavous, that we need to look at inefficiencies. I also think we need to look at how our housing is currently constructed. Right now, there is a 30% margin for affordable housing. I think we need to demand that is raised so that we can have workforce housing. Workforce housing does two things. It makes DC more affordable, and it brings the average median income down so that DC can become more affordable. We already have pre-existing arrangements and deals made with companies. We need to go back and demand that this housing be extended so that we can get more people into affordable housing in DC. Thank you.
Thank you. A reminder to candidates, the question is what's one specific program or subsidy you would cut to balance the budget? Ms. Forester.
So I would say this. One is there are a number of programs that need to be evaluated and need to be cut, but we also need accurate reporting and timely to make that assessment. I would say we have funding that is going out that's supposed to be training workers to secure jobs, and we keep giving the same funding to the same group of people that are not actually securing DC resident jobs. So we need to pull back that funding, those programs that are not working. We also need to cut tax loopholes for corporations that have come to DC and have not been accountable to the District of Columbia. And they're taking our money and not being, like I said, being accountable to the district residents. So there are a number of places I think we need to make some cuts where there's waste.
Thank you. Mr. Hill.
Thank you. So as an entrepreneur, I take a look at this from a business lens. And so again, some of the questions were about revitalizing downtown. So I'd be targeting small businesses also in revitalizing downtown. I'd be targeting office to residential conversions and also trying to provide short-term leases for small businesses to fill the vacant ground space that's down in that area. I also want to try to break our federal dependency on issues that are relating to the economy in downtown. And in terms of the small business, I would try to target licensing, so a 50-day licensing period, as well as a 45-day certificate of occupancy period. And the cuts that I could possibly see making is at a DCLP, so that when the efficiencies came about, we'd be able to cut some costs there.
Thank you. Mr. Jackson.
Yes, I think my major priority would be how do we create jobs and build revenue. Right now, we have the highest unemployment of any major city in the country, as well as being, if we were a state, ranked 49th for affordability. So my focus would be how do we cut fees and red tape that's impacting and keeping small businesses from operating in the district. One major proposal I have is having a first-year free waiver for new businesses that come into the district, especially if they can create jobs for those who are lower education. Right now, every waiter has a law degree, and we have to create more pathways for all of our residents in the district. Most specifically, though, we also have to look at cutting middle management. This is a district that is top-heavy and not serving the community as much as they should, and that's where I'll focus.
Thank you. Ms. Jenkins, same question for you.
DC is incredibly resource-rich, but the resources are not reaching the people, and that's a really big problem. So that is one thing that I would fix. Additionally, I have a robust portfolio and lots of experiences creating businesses, not just in DC, but in other countries as well. I would diversify DC's reliance on federal jobs and make sure that everyone gets an opportunity that chooses to work in the district can. When we looked at the budget, the mayor spent $24 million on workforce development with only a 6% workforce development employment rate. That's gutting, it's concerning, and most importantly, it's embarrassing. I would incentivize businesses that go downtown, making sure they hire and retain folks that participate and get the appropriate certification with workforce development.
Thank you. Ms. Nelson.
Thank you. I believe the question was what we would cut.
Correct.
Okay, thank you for that. Neighborhoods are thriving downtown. If it looks more like a neighborhood, it would thrive. It's difficult to say what to cut because the budget formulation is done in the mayor and then passed over to the legislative branch. But one thing that we definitely could do and could shape is just to understand that what's not working should not be funded. So I would look at programs that aren't working. For example, the Department of Employment Services had 7 unmet KPIs. That's key performance indicators. When we look at that, we know where to cut. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Owolewa.
Yeah, so I'm not only speaking as a candidate, I'm also speaking as a 12-year pharmacy manager, knowing that proactive spending is way cheaper than reactive spending. So number one, doing the small things count, like shoveling through a snowstorm, not waiting for it to ice over. That costs us hundreds of thousands of dollars. Number two, making sure our hospitals are communicating. People go from Cedar Hill Hospital to Georgetown getting the same treatment, and that causes us more strain on our healthcare system. We need our government to actually communicate with each other, because right now, Department DACL may be doing something, and Mayor's Office of African Affairs may be doing something similar. They're not communicating, and that's costing us more money, reducing our outcomes, and making our budget even more bloated. So we need to cut the duplicitous nature using potentially AI to communicate better and make sure we're doing the same thing once and not just over and over and over again.
Thank you. Ms. Raymond.
Yes. When I worked at the council, one of the most important parts of my job was managing the oversight and budget process for all of the education agencies. And I care about education. My kids went to school here in DC. This has been a priority in my life, my entire life. But I know there are opportunities to trim some, particularly in staffing. So we have a number of agencies like the Office of the State Superintendent of Education, the Deputy Mayor for Education, where over the years the positions have just increased exponentially. The DC Auditor did a report on this. And so I think it's really critical that, so as some of my colleagues have mentioned, looking at duplication. And so it's not just for services and for programs, it's also for staff.
Thank you. Moving on to our next question, public safety and accountability. Residents are exhausted by crime, but data shows that simply locking up more people does not address the root causes of crime. But beyond simply hiring more police officers, what is your specific actionable plan to intervene with repeat youth offenders before their actions escalate to violent crime? And I'll start with you, Ms. Raymond.
Thank you. As I said, I've worked with youth for a good part of my life. In my current role now at Covenant House, Greater Washington, a lot of our youth come to us and say that if it were not for the services and the support that we provide to them, that they would be out in the community and getting into trouble potentially. Not all of them, but some. And so I think it's really just starting with the basics of housing, wraparound services, workforce development that's really high quality, that meets youth where they are and recognizes that some of them may be coming in with a high school diploma, some of them without, some with a college degree, and helping them get practical skills so that they can feel good, be employed, and get on a path to independence.
Thank you. Let's move to Mr. Chavous for the same question.
Yes, so for me, we know who the youth who are most likely to commit violent crimes are. We've done studies, there have been plenty of analysis done that identifies the small number of youth who are most likely to commit a violent crime. My approach would be to give all the resources available to those youth. So whether they need a job, we make sure they get a job training program, and there is an actual job at the end of that program. If they need housing, they get a voucher. We've got vacant units all around DC, especially in the area we're in right now, Navy Yard. We could put youth in those units. We know who the people are that need the most help. It's about getting the resources to them directly and cutting some of the bureaucracy that prevents the resources from going to who needs them most.
Thank you. Mr. Davis, same question. What is your specific actionable plan to intervene with repeat youth offenders before their actions escalate to violent crime?
Yes, I think, before their actions escalate is the key. And I think that starts with communication. Oftentimes, as adults, we're constantly telling children what they need to do. And I think we need to listen. As a school principal, as a community leader, I listen first. And by listening, we understand we start to understand the root cause. We also need to make sure that programs and activities follow students. When children are in elementary school, there's robust programming. However, when they go to middle school, a lot of that programming is gone. And when they get to high school, we then try to give them that programming again. We do have to wrap these programs around children so that as they travel, the programs travel with them and prepare them for the future.
Thank you. Ms. Forester, same question.
I would say this is a question that is near and dear to my heart as a person who's been a victim of violent crime and has spent most of my life putting deceased when it asked for father on my daughter's school enrollment forms. But I've also tried to create opportunities for people to choose a different path. So I ran a pre-apprenticeship program to give youth an opportunity to choose something different. That's only one piece of the solution, is give them an opportunity to choose a different path and expose them to it, but then also believe in them. I was also a kid that came from Southeast to go to school in Upper Northwest. And my mom said, why you always getting in trouble? I said, Mommy, because they don't want me here. They told me that. So all it took was for one teacher to tell me and pull me aside, say, I believe in you. I know that you can do better. And that made me want to come to school every day and show up in a different way. So believing and preparing them, exposing them to different opportunities.
Thank you. Mr. Hill.
Thank you. So everyone deserves safe communities. They deserve to feel safe in their community, in their home, in their area. And so I'd have kind of two sides to this. I'd deal with violence interruption programs as evidence-based violence interruption, restorative justice programs that focus on healing, accountability, and community engagement. I'd also work with the Office of Neighborhood Security Engagement. I would also try to get mental health co-responders alongside emergency response and behavioral health crisis. And I would expand the Mayor and Barry Summer Youth Employment Program, and then also try to create more reentry services for job training, housing navigation, mental health support, and reducing reactivism. I also think that we should fully fund the MPD department and try to get them fully escalated back up from the 3,000 to 4,000 officers, and then have a chance to prioritize commercial corridors to bring business back to those corridors.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Mr. Jackson, no worries. Same question for you.
Yes. First and foremost, I'm a survivor of gun violence and was nearly killed in April of 2013. And just last week, I was at a vigil for Milo Young, who was just 12 years old when he was shot and killed at 3:30 in the day. And there's nothing more devastating than watching dozens of preteens mourning their classmate. But beyond that, I also worked in the Office of Neighborhood Safety and Engagement, as well as the White House moving forward policy to address this crisis. And there's a couple key things. One, we have to invest in prevention strategies. That includes mental health, community violence intervention. And right now, DC has only put $25 million into that. Secondly, we got to look at what makes crime fatal. And DC is not doing a good enough job intervening and intercepting guns that are getting into our district. We have one gun store, but 95% of the guns are coming from outside of the district. So I would focus on investing in prevention and upstream accountability to keep guns out of the hands of our youth.
Thank you. Ms. Jenkins.
Yes, thank you for the question. Crime is something and safety is something that's very important to me. My father and my brother are both returning citizens, so I don't define people by possibly the worst decision they've ever made. I do believe that accountability and safety can coexist, and that starts by investing in people, investing in housing, mental health services, job training, addressing the root issue of what motivates crime. I also think that we need to give attention to the type of language that we're using to categorize youth. When we talk about youth, we're talking about folks between the ages of 12 and 24, when in reality, we're talking about minor age, folks that are under 18. I think that we need to change our language in the way that we're addressing the issue and actively listen and approach this as though we're talking about minors and typical youth behavior. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Nelson.
Thank you. I think the question was about repeat youth offenders.
Yes.
And I think we support them by focusing more on pathways than versus punishment. We need to have violence interruption, mental health supports, conflict resolution. We need to ensure that we're working with programs like DC Infrastructure Academy and creating career patterns and career pathways for violence and for vocational education. We also have to make sure we're listening to them and supporting them through youth advisory councils and even creating a youth council that could work lock and step with the council. I would definitely support that as the at-large council member. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Owolewa.
Violence is a product of a lack of investment. And I'll talk about myself. At one point in my life, I was a very violent teenager. I was bullied mercilessly by how I looked, by how I sounded, or what my name was. And I responded with fists because I have access to mental support. But people didn't give up on me. The community didn't give up on me, and I turned my life around. And now as a pharmacist, I pour in time into young people, making sure that they have positive role models. And even to address violent youth offenders, I work with violence interrupted organizations like Alliance of Concerned Men, but I also work with returning citizens. And a lot of people who offended at a young age didn't read at grade level. So I would invest in organizations like the Washington Literacy Center to bring the literacy rates up, because that's how you guarantee somebody a dignified life and prevent them from a life of crime.
Thank you. Moving to our next topic, federal interference in home rule. We are currently operating under a federal administration that has explicitly threatened to assert greater control over the district. And we have recently seen Congress successfully overturn local legislation. As a council member, how do you legislate boldly for your constituents while navigating a hostile Capitol Hill that frequently uses D.C. as a political punching bag? What should the city's approach be? Start with you, Mr. Hill.
Okay, thank you. So home rule is something that everyone is worried about now, with great reason to be worried. And I think that D.C. should not be a laboratory again for experimental legislation from politicians that are elected elsewhere. We need to better educate our allies in Congress that D.C.'s disenfranchisement is a civil rights issue, not a partisan one. And also, they live here too. And I think that what we need to do is also be able to work with not only our council members, our attorney general, and the mayor to have a more focused approach as to how to defend ourselves against legislation that comes our way. But I think we also have to be a little nuanced in talking with the Congress and saying, you know, you live here too, and you don't want things, DC's run very well. And so you don't want things to get worse by trying to take it over yourself. That's what I would try to convey if I had the opportunity.
Thank you. Ms. Forester, let's go with you next.
I would say this is probably one of the reasons why I decided to run, is because what I've not seen over the past year and a half is, despite our political differences from the AG to the mayor's office to city council, we haven't united together to push back against the administration and the attacks. We have not worked strategically. We cannot point fingers at each other. We have to work together because we know that we are limited what we can do. We've been fighting for statehood for a very long time. I got locked up fighting for statehood. But not returning citizen. But we knew this was coming, so we should have thought proactively.
Thank you. Mr. Davis.
Yes, in 2012, I had the opportunity to be a part of what was called the Teach Plus Policy Fellowship. This allowed me an opportunity to travel all over the United States to talk to Congress about issues that were pressing in education. These skills taught me how to advocate for myself, advocate for education, but also advocate for our city. And those are the skills that we need to advocate and speak to our friends and our neighbors. In order to fight against this administration, we need to have a coalition of those who will fight with us. Number two, we need to make sure that our Attorney General remains independent so that we have someone fighting for us when our laws are trying to be overturned. So I would say we need to cultivate better relationships and make sure our Attorney General can fight for us.
Thank you. Mr. Chavous.
I have the pleasure of serving D.C. Democrats as the national committee man. So I represent D.C. on the DNC. And it's amazing how few people realize that people live in D.C. We got residents here that pay taxes, more taxes per capita than most states. So we do have education that we have to do, that we have to perform to people around the country. But the president makes a lot of threats. He follows through on very few of them. So right now, we still control our budget. My focus in running for at-large city council is on administering and making sure that we're performing proper oversight of the $22 billion we spend. And my campaign is really motivated by a simple question. What can we do with the power we have today to improve the quality of life for everyone? We still control our budget. I'll be focused on making sure it's implemented effectively.
Thank you. Ms. Raymond, same question for you.
Yes, I like the legislate boldly because I think it's critical that we keep our eye on the fact that we have to represent our residents. Everything we do has to be with the mindset of what is best for them. And it can't be about who is looking over our shoulder and who is deciding whether or not they think that we are an effective leadership legislative body. So we have to keep that in mind. We have to continue to legislate based on what our values are, not on an administration that may or may not intervene. I also agree with the point about we have to educate our allies. We have Democratic allies. Some of them, again, don't understand what's happening, and even those who do have not committed to supporting statehood for us. So before I give another dime to another election candidate out of state or knock on any doors, I would want to see the commitment that they're going to support statehood for D.C.
Thank you. Mr. Owolewa.
Yes, while we push back against a hostile White House, we also have to push forward towards D.C. statehood. I remember when I first ran for shadow rep, everyone was talking about lacking a congressional vote in Congress. But since then, we've seen our budget get slashed. We've seen our laws overturned. We've seen our president literally use us as political punching bags. But we also have to use the budget to protect people, right? When I did an immigration town hall, they did not want a council member tweeting thoughts and prayers. They wanted immigration attorneys. We need to increase the immigration legal fund. We also need to attract industries that will rehire the federal workers that were laid off from USAID, State Department, because although we have aggressive and proactive plans to reduce the cost of rent, it doesn't mean anything if someone doesn't have an income. So we need to use our budget to really protect the people who are hardest hit by this administration.
Thank you. Ms. Nelson, what would your approach be?
Thank you. To fight federal interference, we need our city's leadership to be coordinated. They need to be united. When I served as the chief of staff to the Ward 4 council member, I saw the mayor not talking to the council wasn't talking to the council, and then the attorney general was like, who can I sue, what can I do? And it was very disappointing to see this separation of leadership. They need to work together and pass the baton when it is appropriate. Where we've seen the wins is in the judiciary branch. So I would very much support ensuring that the Office of the Attorney General has what they need to do to sue. And then I would just make sure that we are fighting collectively, coordinating, working together, because care is coordination. And we should have an Office of Federal Affairs in the council as well, so that the council can coordinate to work together. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Jenkins.
Yes, one of the things that I would like to share is that I'm currently a PhD student, and it's my second year, and I'm also the graduate student government president. The reason why that's mentionable is because I'm in the process of pursuing my dissertation in strategic organized movement, studying how change happens. I'm also a former kindergarten teacher, so I'm combining those two lived experiences to arrive at the point that we need to make sure that we are educating young people, creating policies that make sure that young people are learning about statehood in the classroom, learning about DC history, and closing that information gap so they are prepared to organize, engage, and activate change in our city. That is one way that's measurable, practical, and realistic that we can invest in our future and invest in statehood. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Jackson.
Power respects power, not pity. And when Trump first came for DC's rights and laws and rules, the Democratic Party called me to testify before Congress 4 times. And they called me because I have bipartisan relationships and coalitions of organizations standing behind me. I'm the only person on this stage today that's passed a bipartisan law, a law that Trump tried to repeal, but Democrats and Republicans fought back and defended this. I'm also the only candidate that has served in the White House, 487 days in the West Wing, understanding how federal processes work. And so as we think about a council, we must build a bridge between council and Congress, not just depend on one delegate and a bunch of shadow reps, but an actual council that has relationships that can fight, protect, and defend our rights. And I'm that candidate.
Thank you. I'm going to shift gears a little bit to housing. Simple question here. If you had to choose faster housing production or deeper affordability requirements, which comes first and what's the trade-off? I'll start with Ms. Nelson.
Could you repeat the question one more time?
Yes. If you had to choose faster housing production or deeper affordability requirements, which comes first and what's the trade-off?
Difficult question. Are you restarting my time?
It's you got 40 seconds.
All right. Well, thanks for that. I would say that housing production, we know we need it. We know we need balanced, affordable housing and deeply affordable housing as well. But the production of that is highly important.
Thank you. Mr. Owolewa, excuse me.
No worries. So building housing is very critical, but making sure that they're affordable is absolutely number one for me, because we have long-term Native Washingtonians. We have seniors on fixed income. We have people who have built this district, and it's not fair for them to be displaced. Oftentimes we see a lot of high-rises come and people live there for 4 years and move to Maryland. It's really important for those who have made DC what it is, who can talk to us about the golden ages with Marionberry and beyond, to actually be able to afford to live here and afford to raise their grandchildren here. We're running to not only make a new DC, but rebuild it for those who actually made this district what it is. And as a council member or as a candidate or as elected official beyond that, I owe my life and I owe my time as public service to them. And I can't turn my back on those who made an opportunity for me.
Thank you. Ms. Raymond.
Yes. As a council member, I will approach all these issues with common sense, which is that, of course, we need affordable housing. We need deeply affordable housing. We also need to build more housing, and we have to have partners to do that. And so we have to certainly streamline the process for that. So I don't think it has to be an either or, but it's absolutely critical that we create a climate where people will actually come and build. And at this point, it's been a big challenge. So again, I do think that we don't have to choose one or the other. This is going to be delicate work. That's why you need people in these roles who have the experience with policy, with making thoughtful decisions.
Thank you. Mr. Chavous, if you had to choose faster housing production or deeper affordability requirements, which comes first and what's the trade-off?
Well, the question presents the problem with housing as if it's either or. So what I would say is we need both. We do need to continue to produce more units. We also need to repair the units we have, because after buildings have been in existence for 10 years, things start to fail. We look at buildings and consider them new still, but there's work that needs to be done. So we've got to maintain units. But we also, and the question leaves us out, we don't talk enough about workforce housing. We talk about deeply affordable and we talk about market rate. We need to make sure that people who are firefighters, police officers, teachers, that they can afford to live in DC. That's what makes DC great, and that's what will attract investment and grow our economy. We need a tax base in DC in order to fund the programs that we are so used to. So I would put more of an emphasis on workforce housing as opposed to just a deeply affordable and market rate.
Thank you. Mr. Davis.
Yes, I concur. I think deeply affordable is where I stand. I think that we need to double down on making sure that our middle class does have an opportunity to afford housing in the city. I think about my 4 sons who I raised in the city, all attended public schools here in DC. I want them to be able to live in DC and raise their families in DC. I want my grandmother to be able to afford her house and pass that house on. And to do that, we need to make sure that housing is deeply affordable by providing opportunities for individuals who work in the city to be able to purchase a home in the city. You should be able to work to live close to where you work, and workforce housing provides that opportunity.
Thank you. Ms. Forester.
I think the question really is about who we building DC for. Or we want to build up quick so we can attract more residents to come in, or do we want to make sure it's affordable that people have lived here all their lives and want to stay here? I've actually had to make this decision when I sat on the DC Housing Authority Board. They told us that they put a project out and the developers said we cannot do it at the deep level of affordability that we put it out for. So therefore, if you want this project done, you all need to vote to decrease the affordability. And me and another commissioner voted against it, because we know that's the only land that DC has. And guess what? That property belongs to the public housing residents of the District of Columbia. So we had no right to be giving it away for it to be developed, to put them out like the communities in Berry Farms. So I will always prioritize affordability.
Thank you. Mr. Hill.
Okay, so it's pretty complicated. I think that it's not either or. It's what actually might work from a financial standpoint. So again, as a business owner and also as one who has served on the Board of Zoning Adjustment, there's the one hand side about, LIHTC, Green Bank, Housing Construction Trust Fund to actually build new housing that's affordable. And then there's also IZ units that you're trying to put together. And then what you need to do is it has to somehow pencil out in order for the project to get done. And so There's also the need for density. We also have to increase density. I think about rail lines and then high-speed bus lines so that we can have more density for more housing. And basically, the projects need to pencil out. The affordable housing system is broken right now. No one's investing in it. No one's building more. And it needs to be not only new affordable housing, but retention of what is already there. And it is an issue that I'm going to focus on if I get this job.
Thank you. Mr. Jackson.
Look, if DC was a state, we would be only more affordable than Hawaii. And that's sad. Right now, the average median household home cost is $600,000. And to buy a home in this district, on average, you have to make $240,000 a year. That's an unrealistic situation. At the same time, I live in Ward 8, and there are high rises with vacancies. And so I think to make a choice between affordability and supply, I think is a failed strategy because affordability is driven by more supply. So as your council member, I will fight for making sure there are a supply of homes that are affordable to rent and to own, and also that we focus on supply, financing, and how do we preserve the homes that are already in place. Affordable does not mean cheap. And in that vein, we have to push our development in this district to focus more on those that are here to build it.
Thank you. And Ms. Jenkins.
Around 2010, I was wrongfully evicted. My mom, my dad, my niece, my nephew, we were all displaced, 3 generations with nowhere to turn, nowhere to go. Even though I had an advanced degree, although I was proficient in 4 different languages, I was scrambling, and so was 3 generations of my family. I didn't have a gravity towards new buildings. I was concerned about what I could afford and where my family would go. I would definitely prioritize deeply affordable housing. It doesn't matter if there's new housing being developed if you can't afford to live there. I would definitely cut the red tape and expand TOPA, legislation that I've actually benefited from. I will also expand it to include tax cuts for seniors whose income is not increasing as their property taxes are. That is the way I would use legislation to impact deeply affordable housing. Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you all for your responses. Moving to another topic here, agency accountability. A lot of you have mentioned this, and oversight. Name one DC agency that is underperforming, and if you've mentioned one already, pick another. What specific oversight action would you take in your first 6 months to address it? And let's start with Mr. Owolewa.
Yes, as a pharmacist, I'm very concerned about our state of health. We have a Department of Health that's not providing any real accountability to our hospitals and our pharmacies. That's why you see a CVS closing in Branch Avenue, a CVS closing in Columbia Heights, a Safeway closing at Edgerton Mall, and a hospital that's failing in my Ward 8. I believe we need stricter guidelines because when we close down United Medical Center and open up Cedar Hill at the same time and the patients aren't transferred one to another, they fall between the cracks. And as a pharmacist working at the neighborhood giant in that area, I see my neighbors. They're not just numbers. And they're losing their medications. They're skipping their therapies. They're going to the hospital with diabetes shock. So Department of Health needs to have oversight. And as the only healthcare worker or the first pharmacist to ever be on the council, I'll be able to do just that.
Thank you. Ms. Raymond.
Yes, I would focus on DCPS and particularly on special education. As the parent of a child who struggled throughout school, I had to battle every day to get him the services that he needed. And when I worked at the Office of the Attorney General, we saw hundreds of families bringing suit every year just to get their kids the services that they needed. And I know we've made some progress as a district toward meeting needs of students, but I would be focused on implementation in terms of providing timely IEPs and making sure that services are provided to students and so that families don't feel like they have to hire an attorney to get their kids the services that they need.
Thank you. Mr. Chavous.
If I had to pick one agency, I would say Metropolitan Police Department. We continuously increase their budget, and I know we have a shortage of officers. We have a lot of good officers that work long hours, and our officers have a lot on them. They have to fill the gaps that the federal government needs filled, and they work hard. But we need to fix the Office of Police Complaints, or the Police Complaints Board, rather. We need more transparency. When force is used out here in the streets, we deserve to see the footage. We deserve for discipline to be handed down when it's deserved, and that's something that I'll work on. We need to make sure that the rules are being followed and that when investigations are conducted, that corners aren't cut. So that will be one thing I'll focus on. We got to make sure MPD, if we're going to give them that much money, they've got to be transparent. they've got to do right by the citizens.
Thank you. Mr. Davis, what's one DC agency that you feel is underperforming? What specific oversight action would you take in your first 6 months to address it?
Yes, the specific action I would take is greater coordination in education, as specifically as it relates to our providing skills to our graduates and our current students. Currently, the Deputy Mayor of Education is to work with UDC, one of our most underutilized resources here in the city. And the idea is that there are to be programs developed for individuals to have access to careers and to get skills and dispositions that will make them successful. I think we need to focus on this. Just about every high school, even in the charter schools, they have special academies that we can tie into UDC to ensure that students are receiving skills and certifications that make them economically viable.
Thank you. Ms. Forester.
I would say DOES. I believe the director has done a great job, especially rolling out the implementation of paid family medical leave. But we have the best trained unemployed workforce in the District of Columbia. Why? We can't get reports to hold our grantees accountable. We are not evaluating to determine, and part of the evaluation is if we can't continue to give you money for job training programs if they're not leading to jobs. If something is not working. So, we got to, invest in a career path so we don't have the same people that are going through job training programs over and over again and don't have jobs.
Thank you. Mr. Hill, what's one agency you feel is underperforming? What specific oversight action would you take in your first 6 months to address it?
Okay, thank you. So I'm tired of hearing about how much affordable housing we need, right? And I'm tired that it's not getting built. And so what I want to know is why the affordable housing system is broken and what is it that we need to do to make it start to work. I know some of the reasons and some of why the finance is not coming through, why some of the things like the Housing Protection Trust Fund isn't working. So DOB, I'd go to DOB and be like, why is this not working? I've constantly been hearing about affordable housing. I've been constantly hearing about more homes, and yet we can't seem to get that pipeline to work. I know that some of the answers are going to be difficult to kind of convey to my colleagues on the council and try to understand how we have to change things so that people want to invest in the city, to build the homes, to build the affordable homes. I would go to DOB, even though I like the director.
Thank you. Mr. Jackson.
Yeah, there are quite a few agencies that are dealing with huge crises in our district. Housing with DCHA, DOES with unemployment. And when I worked in the deputy mayor's office, I'll never forget meeting with DOES and learning that for every 8 people without a college degree, there was only 1 job available. And so I think it's important for us to partner with these different agencies, but the one I would focus on would be the Department of Small and Local Business Development, because we have to create jobs. We have the highest unemployment of any major city in the country, and I don't think we're lacking talent, we're lacking opportunity. And there's great leadership there, but frankly, we need more resources, more supports, and we need to have more partnership in all of our corridors to create jobs for all folks in this district.
Thank you. Ms. Jenkins.
Getting old is a privilege, not a right. And I don't think the Department of Aging and Community Living is underperforming. But as someone that has a unique expertise to aging, particularly in the District of Columbia, there's a lot of opportunity to improve. I've owned and operated a home healthcare agency for over a decade. I've been a DC senior ambassador. I've managed senior portfolio throughout the entire District of Columbia at various iterations of my career. So I know firsthand from having an up-close view of what we can do better. I would start by creating a dashboard with all of our senior services in one place, making sure that people can understand how agencies are regulated, which ones are healthy, giving them a rating, A, B, C, D, et cetera, in terms of their performance and quality of care that they render. Getting care for someone that's aging or someone you love should not be a labyrinth, and a dashboard can make that seamless. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Nelson.
One agency I believe is not working well is the Department of Public Works. Trash pickup, parking, enforcement, ticketing, towing, snow removal, you name it. And especially, I think, with the snow removal, when we all survive snow creep, one of the things that I noticed was that there were great union jobs that were taken away, given to contractors, and then the agency wasn't tracking the contractor's performance. And then we saw there that we weren't getting our snow removed. And the contractor's equipment was not up to par as well to get rid of the snow. And so for me, I would support, as the council member, the agency to give them what they needed to reinforce those career ladders that they need, bring back some of those good union jobs, and have DC government.
Thank you. Appreciate it. I think that was 9 different agencies and 9 answers. So we're going to have a lot of work to do. We're going to move on to economic growth. Outside of the federal, well, we saw the impact of federal cuts on downtown. Outside of federal jobs, what is one sector you would prioritize growing, and what's the first step to do it? And I'll start with Ms. Forester.
Justin, I was about to drink some water. I would say this is where I think that we need, well, I know we need to invest in small business. So the federal workforce, there's no replacing those jobs, right? They are high skilled. If we open up opportunities in DC government, their wages are salaries are a lot higher than DC government. Where we have seen them be successful is being entrepreneurs, but we don't have the structure in place to support them. So we need to help them. Not all of them can, but I think it's one area that we should invest in because the skill sets they have, contractual skill sets they have to run big agencies can be, and we will see a need for those contractual services because unfortunately the Trump administration is cutting full-time positions and turning them over into contracting positions.
Thank you.
Have my water now?
Yes, ma'am. Mr. Davis, same question for you. What's one sector you will prioritize growing, and what's the first step to do it?
Yeah, I would prioritize education. I mean, we keep on talking about growing the economy, new economy, but our new economy is here. AI is here. It is fundamentally changing the way in which we do everything from this wonderful production that we have here. And we need to start training our youth in this technology right now. We have the infrastructure already in place. We have many schools that have computer science programs. What we need to do is invest, because if we invest in the children, our economic engine will begin to move very quickly, and we will have a citizenry that will prepare us for the future, and DC will become and remain a world-class city.
Thank you. Mr. Chavous.
There's no doubt that the layoffs, the dozing of the federal government has dramatically hurt our area. Historically, federal jobs has really been the pathway to the middle class for black folks in the area. It made DC Chocolate City, and that those jobs aren't coming back, unfortunately. But we have a lot of sectors that are thriving. One is our healthcare sector. We have great hospitals. We have a lot of universities in the district. I believe we need to create pathways to those careers in healthcare for our youth and for our young adults. We have the DC Healthcare Academy that recently started at the Department of Employment Services. It has had promising results. As council member, I will make sure to expand that, to support it, and other programs like it, because we've got to provide careers to our young people and adults that don't necessarily require four-year degrees, and healthcare provides a lot of jobs like that.
Thank you so much. We'll move to Ms. Raymond, and I'll restate the question. Outside of federal employment, what is one sector you will prioritize growing, and what is the first step to do it?
Sure. I've talked to a lot of people who have been doged and who put out their own shingles, to say, so really started their own businesses and using their own experience and knowledge to generate income. And so I think they've often found what a lot of small businesses have found is that they don't have the support to run their businesses. I also want to put out a novel idea, which is think about the hundreds or millions of dollars that we're spending on campaigns and with public financing. I'd like to consider, should we be requiring campaigns to use local contractors, whether it's people who are doing graphic design, who are consulting and helping these campaigns. There's a lot of money. I fully support public financing, but let's try to make those dollars work for our own residents.
Thank you. Mr. Owolewa.
So I was a pharmacist in Capitol Hill for 4 years, and these were not my patients, these were my friends. And I want to talk to you about one of my friends, Morgan, who got doged from USAID. She's been without a job for over a year, and as we push for economic growth, we have to realize that she won't be able to make rent by working at the commander's field once every 2 weeks. In terms of the first step, I've already done the first step. There's a guy I know in New York who's involved in a lot of international development careers. He proposed an idea to bring 20,000 jobs to the district, and I brought it to the council. I brought it to DEMPED, and the conversation stalled, and those jobs went to Alabama. So having those big ideas and attracting other people willing to bring jobs to folks at the same level that they're used to is how we jumpstart this economy and make sure that DC's back on track.
Thank you, Ms. Nelson.
Thank you. One sector that I would improve would be education. If it wasn't for my education, I'd still be on the side of a mountain. And one of the top things I think we could do to support is ensure that DCPS can give universal free foods. And in doing so, we already have the community eligibility program, which some schools that qualify for that, they're already giving free breakfast and lunch. But if we were to expand that program and at least start there with DCPS and then try to expand it later, we would give all DCPS students free breakfast and free lunch, because who can, learn when they're hungry? I know I can't. But that would definitely be where I would start, and education would be where I would focus.
Thank you. Yeah, Ms. Jenkins.
Yeah, so my mother always said that success is when preparation meets opportunity. And unfortunately, a lot of small business owners and individuals aren't prepared to compete with government contracting. So I would definitely cut the red tape and make sure that it's accessible and mentoring is provided to ensure that everyone has a fair and balanced approach to compete. Also, I live in the historic and beautiful community of Deanwood, located in Ward 7. And the RFK Stadium has been a point of contention. For the folks that were excited about this development, it was the opportunity for jobs. What I learned after listening to the budget is that a lot of those good union jobs were committed to unions outside the District of Columbia. I would ensure that those union jobs brokered relationships and prepared and worked with people in my community to ensure that they had an opportunity to participate in construction, hospitality, and jobs that would be available to them there. Thank you.
Sure. Mr. Jackson.
All right. Well, my first job was a dishwasher in a steakhouse. And I went from that to going to the University of Virginia, getting admitted to Yale, and serving in the White House. And the same lessons that I learned scrubbing dishes taught me the work ethic that I use at all those levels. And with that said, I would actually focus on hospitality, restaurants, and nightlife. They are now the largest employer in our district, ahead of the federal government. And I think there's the greatest opportunity there to make sure all residents have an opportunity to be employed. And also there's a very clear ladder of growth and development for those who serve. You can go from a dishwasher to a general manager. And it's one of the few industries where we have that opportunity independent of your educational background. So that would be my major focus.
Thank you. And Mr. Hill.
Thank you. Okay, so I've been a federal government contractor for 25 years, and it sucked when the administration came in. And there was a lot of things, everyone was scared. We all panicked. We had to pivot. We had to figure out other things to do. And so what I would do, and I had a chance to talk to some venture capital friends, and they avoid DC like crazy. We got to figure out how to make it so the council is in a place that it encourages businesses to come to this town. It encourages growth to come to this town. This is a place where, these type of hyper-accelerator companies are looking for good schools. There's over 50-plus universities here. Good transportation. They need affordable housing, which is something I'm also going to try to do. But I think that one of the things is the data centers that are around here, 40% of the world's data comes through the data centers nearby us. I would look to AI, cybersecurity, and biotechnologies to try to advance that here in the D.C. area.
Thank you, and thanks everyone for your responses. We're going to shift gears a little and go to a lightning round. So these are yes, no questions. You're allowed one sentence to explain or justify your response. Please try not to go beyond that so we can get to everybody. And we'll just go down the line to start here. So starting with you, Mr. Chavous, should DC increase funding for Metro even if it requires cuts elsewhere?
Not if other states don't pay more as well. I don't think DC should continue to pay more than Maryland and Virginia do when most of the riders are from the suburbs.
Thank you.
I agree. Everyone needs to pay their fair share, not DC taking the whole bill.
Thank you.
Ask the question again, please.
Sure. Should DC increase funding for Metro even if it requires cuts elsewhere?
It's a hard question. I would say we need to fund Metro, but we need to make sure that we are funded equitably. We're paying our workers, but we should not be cutting other services to fund Metro.
Thank you. Mr. Hill.
I think we need to figure out how to fund Metro in a way that doesn't involve us providing other cuts. So I wouldn't be in favor of creating cuts to fund Metro.
Thank you. Mr. Jackson.
Yeah, I agree with my comrades here that this is not a time to cut crucial services, especially the condition of our budget just for Metro. But I also think that we have to recognize a lot of folks depend on Metro, and we have to ensure that it's safe, reliable, and recognizing that our residents' livelihood, many of them depend on public transit.
Thank you, Ms. Jenkins.
As someone that lives in a transit desert east of the river, I definitely support funding Metro 100%. Transportation is equity, it's also safety.
Thank you.
No, I would not increase the funding, especially because, as some of the other candidates have said, the other states are not paying enough. It is not balanced. The District of Columbia has been paying more, so we need to get more from our partners in Virginia and Maryland.
Thank you. Yes.
I support proactively increasing the funding to reduce reactive costs.
Thank you, Ms. Raymond.
I would support increasing funding only if it was to support services to people in transportation desert. So for fast bus service, because if people can't get to their jobs or to school, then that hurts our economy.
Thank you. Next question. Will you vote to return armed police to all DC public high schools as a member of the council? We'll start with Ms. Raymond on this question.
I would say no. I think we need support services. If we need to have security for people coming in the door, that's one thing, but armed officers, no.
Let's jump to Mr. Chavous.
No, unless there's a specific situation and it's requested by a particular school or particular administrator. But across the board, my general answer would be no.
Thank you. Mr. Davis?
No, weapons should not be in schools.
Thank you. Ms. Forester?
No.
Mr. Hill?
I'm going to go with no, too. I like that answer.
Mr. Jackson?
No, but I also think we should be prioritizing resources for parent-teacher engagement, recognizing that's the highest predictor of youth performance.
Thank you. Ms. Jenkins?
Absolutely not. We will not vilify our children innocent until proven guilty. It is a school, not a prison institution. No.
Ms. Nelson?
No.
Mr. Oak?
No, we should be prioritizing investing in mental health services at a time where young people are walking to school by themselves because their parents are afraid to come outside, at a time where young Black kids are being called juveniles by the council. We need to invest in their mental safety. We need to make sure that schools remain a healthy place to be at.
Thank you. Next question here. Do you support a regional commuter tax? Start with Mr. Jackson.
I am open to some regional commuter taxes. I think a universal one is something I would love to look more into.
Thank you. Ms. Jenkins?
I'm open to the conversation, considering that a lot of folks come to DC and they enjoy the fishes and the loaves without contributing to our economy and the revenue that we have here.
Ms. Nelson?
Yes, although I know that with congressional oversight, they would not let the bill go through, but yes.
Mr. Owolewa?
I will look hard at it. I'm not supportive of it right now because I do know our businesses are suffering. And we're talking about people going from DC to Maryland to shop. They should be going in the opposite direction, and finding ways to attract that tourism, those dollars, I think is a priority for me in attracting those industries as well to rehire people.
Ms. Raymond?
I like the idea. I agree that it is something that deserves some real analysis because we don't want to prevent people from coming in. However, I can see it's very attractive when you look at other areas and people are paying, $13 to get into New York City, and people are paying nothing to come to DC. So I think we absolutely need to consider it.
Mr. Chavous?
At this point, I would say no. Our businesses are suffering, and we don't want to discourage people from coming into DC. I have friends who live all over, and when this idea came up, they just said, I don't need to go to DC that bad. And that's not what the energy we want to put out there. We are the hub of the area. We want people to come to DC and spend their money.
Thank you. Mr. Davis?
Yes, I do think we need to think about that commuter fee. I think it would actually benefit us because we have rich resources here in DC, like the free museums and everything, and I think that would actually generate more income for DC.
Thank you. Ms. Forester?
Yeah, I would say one, it's hard. As a lifelong DC resident, I think Kevin said this one time we had a forum. Our families don't live here anymore, and they have to come from Maryland to see us. But at the same time, we have businesses and people from Virginia and Maryland that are coming in the district to make a profit, and they're going back to their homes. So I definitely would consider it with some nuances.
Okay. Mr. Hill?
I would say no. The These fees that come through often have an issue to them that people don't take a look at. Like, it ends up hurting lower income workers, I think, and I think that's a problem. I don't think that's some issue. And what people have seen avoided, they'll park outside the zone. They'll have cars and companies inside the zone, and they just move luggage, traffic, whatever it is, from one car into another car, and they avoid paying anyway. So I would not be in support.
Thank you. And we're going to move now to candidate questions. Each candidate has 30 seconds, try to keep it shorter than that if you can, to ask one question of another candidate. They will have 45 seconds to respond. Please focus your question on a decision or record, not a general platform if you can. We'll start with Mr. Davis.
I don't have any questions.
No questions? Okay. Ms. Forester.
Oh, can you come back to me? Oh, go back. I'll do it. Mr. If you had to vote for anybody besides me.
That's good.
Who would you vote for? Who would you pick as your number one besides yourself?
Oh, yeah, because I was going to say, I'm number one on the ballot.
Your next turn now.
Right?
You gotta choose wisely.
Yes.
Yeah, no, I think each person here has great attributes. I think the candidate who is most aligned to education and understanding that the children are our economic engine, that is the candidate that I would vote for.
Who is?
Well done.
Okay.
That's a good political answer.
Okay. Mr.
Hill, prepare for that one.
Mr. Hill, feel free to ask a question of another candidate.
Yeah, I don't have any questions.
No questions.
No.
Okay. Mr. Jackson, would you like to ask a question of another candidate?
Yeah. So I think public safety is a huge concern for a lot of us, especially with the recent loss of our youth. And working in the issue of gun violence prevention for nearly over a decade, I know that law enforcement is a big part of how we address these crises. So my question is for Mr. Oye. Can you please share a little bit more about your questionnaire response about proposing a 50% cut to law enforcement?
Yeah, absolutely. Right now, if you look at the data, it's about, do I have 45 seconds? Okay, yeah, so if you look at the data, it's usually about 1 officer per 1,000 per capita. That leaves us about 7,000 officers, 7,000 officers if you do 1 per 100. When you factor in the violence interrupters, you factor in that we're the most heavily policed jurisdiction, including Capitol Police, schools, universities, Secret Service, and beyond, then that number comes down to 3,500 to 3,200, where we're at right now. And because of mandatory overtimes, we are just bleeding our budget in reactive spending that we can use for mental health specialists. We've seen the CAHOOTS program in Pennsylvania and in Oregon that actually created better outcomes. Now, at a time that utilizing our energy on teen curfews, we can put it in DPR.
Thank you.
Better outcomes.
Appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Who's next? Yes, Ms. Jenkins. Do
I
you
don't
have a question?
any questions at this time.
Okay. Ms. Nelson, do you have any questions for fellow candidates?
Sure. Mr. Chavous, when you were the committee director for the Committee on Labor and Executive Administration, the Department of Employment Services fell under your purview. At that time, I know that there were 7 unmet KPIs, but then also a shortage of funding to, let's say, DC Infrastructure Academy. Could you just walk us through, maybe why that was the case, or what you would have done differently, or anything like that, to give us a better understanding?
Thank you for that. And I know you worked at DOES,
Yes.
so you know how DOES
Yes.
works. In fact, you drafted, I think, the KPIs. So you know very well about DOES. But I would say, look, DC Infrastructure Academy has done a good job of getting people employed and keeping them employed long term. It's one of our best locally funded programs. We battled with DOES. One of the problems with oversight is that it's hard to get straight answers from agencies. And it's not just DOES, it's all over the government. And you have to build relationships with the agency in order to get information from them. And sometimes it's better to get that information outside of a hearing. I mean, sometimes you got to go to them. You got to go to a community meeting. You've got to meet them out in public. So we worked on it. I'll continue to work on it. But DOES has done some good things, and we should be proud of some of the strides they've made.
Thank you. Mr. Owolewa, any question?
I have a question for Dyana. Why is it important for union champions rather than corporate-backed candidates to be on the council?
You know, I would say, I think for me, it's about the perspective that we bring and how we make decisions. My perspective is I want to ensure that we are legislating to ensure that the people that are getting the least and that our social services are protected the most, that we're giving them an opportunity to a career path and not just a job, right? We don't want to throw them in apprenticeship training that does not lead them to a career path. So having the perspective, and today, this is actually apprenticeship week. You all should learn about apprenticeships this week and good union apprenticeships. But it helps a deeper understanding of what a job can do, even with our returning citizens. I see I'm running out of time.
Thank you.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
Sure. Yes. Ms. Raymond, any question for your fellow candidates?
Sure. Mr. Hill, if you had to choose one current council member who you felt you aligned with and who you thought would be a good partner on the council, who would that be?
I'm moving up. Okay. All right, let's see. Who I align with? Who current council member I align with? That's a good question. I think that they all have outstanding attributes. I don't know exactly. It depends really on what the area of expertise would be, to be quite honest. If it were education, it'd be one person. If it would be business, another person. I'm in the Ward 2. I'm a Ward 2 council. I'm a Ward 2 resident. So my council member is Brooke Pinto, and so I've enjoyed her as my council member. And so I guess I would pick her if I had to pick somebody to hang out with. But I appreciate the question.
Thank you. Mr. Chavous, any question for your fellow candidates?
Can I ask a question of everyone that would only require 5 or so words to answer?
Okay.
Yeah. I would like everyone to say where they graduated from high school and where it's located.
That's a good one.
I'll start. So I graduated from Gonzaga High School in Washington, D.C.
Kool-Aid!
I'm a Wilson Tiger.
I graduated from Langley High School in Northern Virginia.
Graduated from Fluvanna County High School and Piedmont Community College in Virginia.
I graduated from Cy Creek in Houston, Texas, but I also graduated with my master's from the University of the District of Columbia, and also I'm getting my PhD there as well.
High school.
James Wood High on the side of a mountain. Winchester, Virginia.
I graduated from Boston Land School in Boston, Massachusetts.
Clay High School in South Bend, Indiana. Y'all weren't expecting that.
Excellent. I like that. Thank you.
DC question.
Yeah. It was. Yes, it was. Baltimore question, too. Let's do one more of these kind of rapid fire rounds, actually.
Let's see that.
Name one commitment voters can verify within your first year of office. So one commitment of yours that voters will be able to look at within your first year and see that you're adhering to your pledge. I'll give you a second to think about it so nobody's caught off guard. Go for it.
I want to make college tuition free, UDC tuition free. I graduated pharmacy school without student debt. That allowed me to come to DC, buy a house, be able to run for office, and feel connected with the city. Right now, young people are divested from. DPR is getting cut. We're not increasing the minimum wage for youth employment programs in the summer, but we're increasing funding for DYRS. What is that message for our young people, especially those that live in Ward 7, Ward 8, from families that have up to 10, 15% unemployment? So investing in young people is the guaranteed ROI for making our district better. We must rebuild DC, and that starts with making UDC an incubator of all these jobs, bringing industries to the district, but also making tuition free for young people in the nation's capital.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Nelson, what is one commitment voters can verify within your first year of office?
One commitment voters could verify in my first year of my first term would definitely be me pushing for the universal free meals for DCPS.
Thank you. Yes, Ms. Jenkins.
One commitment that folks would be able to verify as a former kindergarten teacher, as a former columnist in the newspaper and as a successful children's book author, is ensuring that children can read on level by third grade. 119,000 youth, independent of where they live in the city, are struggling to read on level. That's something that I would aggressively push and fight for.
Thank you. Mr. Jackson.
I think priority one would be pushing forward my affordability agenda that will focus on housing, home ownership, creating jobs, and also making sure we have more benefits for our government employees, especially our teachers.
Thank you. Mr. Hill.
Oh, man, you took mine. So in my first year, was it the year? Yeah, if you go see, if I haven't built any housing, if I haven't built any affordable housing, if I haven't been able to figure out why the affordable housing issue is screwed up and nobody's doing anything here, you can come find me.
I like that. Ms. Forester.
I'm overachiever, so I always go for two. So I will say one, the biggest thing is if you know anything about me and Greg, you're not the only person to help get bipartisan legislation passed. The little black girl from Southeast went to West Virginia and got a couple labor bills passed, and it took Republicans and Democrats to do it.
That's awesome.
Yes. So one thing, I want to see more unity. It's not about egos. We got to set that aside. We are fighting against one person right now. So you would definitely see me working to get more unity amongst our council members, but prioritizing community schools, some legislation I got passed years ago that's never been funded.
Thank you. Mr. Davis, one commitment voters can verify within your first year of office.
Yes, the thing about being an at-large council member is that you have to work across all 8 wards. And what I would do in my first year is take time to listen to the youth. And that listening will turn into solutions about education, solutions about health, because we only have one grocery store, Ward 7 and Ward 8. It will lead to workforce opportunities, and more importantly, it will lead towards solutions for our city.
Thank you. Mr. Chavous.
Well, I don't think this question is where we give our most lofty goals or strategic or legislative ideas. I think for me, similar to Mr. Davis as an at-large member, I'll commit to hold at least one town hall in each ward in the first year. I would just be starting, so I need to go to the residents. I need to go to each neighborhood in at least each ward to hear about concerns from the community. So I will commit to doing at least one town hall in each ward.
Thank you. And Ms. Raymond.
Like Ms. Forester, I've got 2, and I've talked about childcare a lot. But what I want to talk about for a minute is violence against women, because we've talked a lot about public safety, and we have not talked about this except for our Women in Politics Forum. And when we have 40% of DC women saying that they have experienced intimate partner violence or stalking, that's a significant problem. And from being a board member of DC Safe, I know that implementing protection orders quickly is one way, is the difference between a woman surviving or being murdered. And so we have to focus on that and making sure that we have more support services for survivors.
Thank you, and thanks to our candidates, you all been fantastic. We are getting to our close here, so I will have you all do your closing statement in 1 minute, and I will start with reverse order of our introductions. Ms. Raymond. Closing statement, please.
Yes, absolutely. So thank you, everyone, for being here. I have spent my entire adult life focused on DC residents. I have, as I shared earlier, worked at the highest levels of DC government, and I'm a parent. I am someone I love this city. This is my home. It's not my hometown technically, but I've been here for longer than I've been anywhere in my life. And I want to use the skills that I have earned, that I've gained through my work in DC to get to work for DC and make the government work better for everyone. I am ready to go. I've written legislation. I've been through 4 oversight and budget cycles, 2 at the council, 2 at the agency level. I have built trusted relationships across this city and earned support and endorsements from very respected leaders, and I'm ready to get to work. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Owolewa.
Hey, I'm Oye again. My story doesn't begin in DC. Heck, my story doesn't even begin in this country. But I was able to make something of myself because of this district, the people that poured into me, the 23 organizations that have endorsed this campaign. We're building the district better together. Right now, DC is under attack. Thousands of people are laid off. Our healthcare is being slashed. People are being snatched off the streets based off of how they look or what language they speak most comfortably. DC problems right now need effective and bold and visionary strategies. We need to make UDC tuition free. We need to invest in our language services so people know how to use this government more efficiently. We have to save our healthcare right when it's off a cliff from this big, beautiful bill. I not only have the experience, but I literally have a doctorate in this. It's important for us to elect different types of people to the council to get different types of outcomes. And right now, DC deserves a fighter who knows how to think outside the box to create the better vision for you.
Thank
Oye,
you.
number one.
Thank you. Ms. Nelson, your closing statement.
Thank you. My name is Candace Nelson, and this is the Super Bowl of elections. This city will change. And when I came here 20 years ago, it looked so much more different. And I want to restore everything that I loved about the city by having us focus on education, healthcare, and housing, and making it be affordable, accessible, and of quality. If you're looking for somebody who has the experience with government agencies and not only doing KPIs for one, but 3 agencies, if you're looking for somebody who knows how to coordinate this government, then choose Candace, number 1. If you're looking for somebody who has equity and execution in their heartbeat, then choose Candace, number 1. And if you really want to see us focus on those 3 main things where everything can thrive, that education, healthcare, and housing, then choose Candace, number 1 on your ballot. I am number 2 on the ballot, but I am number 1 for DC. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Jackson. Oh, excuse me, Ms. Jenkins.
I enjoy being here tonight. Again, my name is Leniqua'dominique. Leniqua'dominique is one first name. It will be the longest name on your ballot. This campaign, my candidacy, is about bringing everyone to the table and centering people. It's about making sure our values are reflected in legislation and policy. My candidacy is pointed towards 3 things: equity, making sure that DC government is working the same for everyone, no matter where they live. No matter where you stay, the proximity of your zip code should not dictate what type of resources you have in your community. The next is education, making sure that folks can read on level by 3rd grade. And finally, environmental justice, making sure that DC is greener, cleaner, supporting the bottle bill, and making sure we prioritize the one place we all have to live, and that's Earth. I'm running because I have the experience. I've worked in the classroom, I've worked in boardrooms, I've worked in government, I've even worked for myself as a social entrepreneur. I've seen the problems up close, and that's how I know we need a new solution. Please vote for me, Jenkins in June, the longest name on your ballot.
Thank you, Mr. Jackson.
I'm Greg Jackson, Ward 8 homeowner, union member, but also a dog owner and someone who's been serving in public works for now over a decade. I helped solve over 2,000 constituent concerns, helped pass the first law on gun violence in 30 years, and helped America reduce homicides by 49%. I think we're in a moment now where DC is dealing with some of the biggest crises of our time: the highest unemployment, housing crisis, a safety crisis, and lack of opportunities for too many in this district. So I am here to earn your vote in a time where we need someone that has national leadership but local commitment, someone who has experience to get things done and can provide proven results. And I am that candidate. My name is Greg Jackson. I actually have the shortest name on the ballot. All love, though. And I am last on your. Oh, my bad. Second shortest. Hopefully I can earn your vote. Greg Jackson, let's talk more.
You took my joke again. I got the shortest name on the ballot.
Yes, you do.
Okay, right, okay. So my mother came from a country called Sikkim, next to Nepal and Bhutan. I looked very Asian as a child. So she immigrated here in '67. My dad's from rural Oklahoma. They didn't have a lot of money growing up, but I learned how to be an entrepreneur from them. They were on welfare for a little while in the beginning. Thank God I was a child. I didn't have to deal with any of that. But so I learned how to become an entrepreneur, and I learned how to do zoning from being on the Board of Zoning Adjustment for 10 and a half years, serving the whole city, all 8 wards. DC, again, is still at a crossroads. The housing crisis is pushing out longtime residents, and the DC economy has over-relied on federal government for far too long. It's impossible to ignore this. And so the Congress keeps threatening our right to govern ourselves, and I'm running because experienced leadership matters. My experience has been forged, again, in boardrooms and public hearings for 10 and a half years, and it's exactly what this moment demands. So I don't know what camera I'm supposed to look at. 4 Fred Hill. I'm number 4 on the ballot. 4 Fred Hill. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Forester.
Yes. I'm Dyana Forester, and I'm number 6 on the ballot. A good balance, 3 on both sides, but I'm going to be your number 1. So I would say the reason why I decided to run, I've been asked to run for a long time, but I'm a single mother. So asking me to run takes away from my daughters and takes away from my responsibilities. So I did not make this decision lightly. I also realized I needed the experience governing, not just legislating, not just advocating, because I don't take for granted the role that we are going to be in the moment that we're going to be in the job that we have before us. That being said, if you want someone who has lived experience and has struggled to pay their bills under this Trump administration, but also has continued to fight not only for her family, but for yours, if you want somebody who has a perspective from both sides, from the government side and from the advocate side, then you should pick me as your number one, Dyana Forester, number 6 on the ballot, and Zion Dwayne Walker. Happy birthday. Nana, we'll see you in a little while.
Thank you. Mr. Davis, your closing statement.
Yes, my name is Dwight Davis. I'm a native Washingtonian, born and raised on Sheridan Street in Northwest. I've spent 22 years in education. I've worked across all of the wards. But when I went to Ward 8, I saw some of the most dramatic disparities I've ever seen in education. And those disparities is the precise reason why I got into this race. Because we are one city. We are 8 wards, but we are one city. And we need to work together to make these, to change the way our city is operating. I'm number 1 on your ballot. I see you. I hear you. I'm willing to serve. I want to serve. Dwight Davis, number 1.
Thank you. And last but not least, Mr. Chavous.
Thank you. DC, this election is very critical. And at a time when we know we're going to have a new mayor, new congressional leadership, and a council that's full of new members, we need leadership that knows how to get things done on day one. And I'm the only candidate out of all of the opponents up here who has the legislative experience, the legal training, and the political roots in DC to serve you immediately in day one. Look, we don't need time. We don't have time for on-the-job training. We talked about DOES a lot. That's a workforce development term. I don't need on-the-job training. I've put in work in the city my whole life. I was at statehood protests before I could even speak in complete sentences. I haven't been out in Maryland. I haven't been out in Virginia. I haven't been anywhere but in DC. And at this time, we need people that understand our communities and are willing to learn and listen from people in every neighborhood in the city. I'm Kevin Chavous. I'm number 8 on the ballot, and I'm humbly asking you for your number 1 ranking in June. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chavous, and thank you to all of our candidates for a wonderful debate. That was very lively. Thank you to everyone watching and who joined us tonight, and please remember to vote.
Right, yeah.